Okay, so hello, hola clase, hola. So we're gonna discuss parental and community involvement. This is a big issue in our educational system today because we do know from research that parents that are involved in the educational progress of their children have a positive effect in the educational outcome of their children. That is, involved parents result in higher educational achievement for their children. Now, we do know that we have what some authors call the missing families, families that are not engaged in the educational progress of their children. There are a couple of articles that I can send you for those of you that are interested for the perspective that believes that they just don't care. Latinos or minority families just don't care about their children. So, and there is a perception of this, but that's easy to refute. It's not real. I think as teachers, administrators, it will be more valid and effective and meaningful for us to look at our jobs, and instead of judging people and families, which is not our job, it will be to look at our jobs and say, what is my job? And traditionally, we are content teachers. I'm a math teacher, I'm a Spanish teacher, I'm a social studies teacher, I'm a literacy teacher. That's what I do. Well, if you know that parental involvement has a positive outcome on the student's educational progress, as teachers, we're also to reach out to families and communities to help us in the education of the children because we are in charge of educating their children. So this turns into a paradigm shift of what we have understood as parent community involvement traditionally. Traditionally, it's an energy in kind of system. What do you have to bring to the school? Bring me your money. Let's do a collection of money. Let's sell this. Let's do all kinds of things and see what kind of things you can bring for us to make our school better. Bring books and fundraisers and chaperoning this and that. We're always asking for the energy of the parents in. And that's still needed, and it's a basic component of parent and community involvement. We need to ask for dentists and doctors to come and do pro bono work with our low SES population of students. Look for free food and cheap food for our students, free reduced lunch programs, the community pitching in, and families pitching in for each other. We still need that. But we've been missing in a more complex organic model that calls for energy out. What are the schools, districts, and teachers doing for the families? Particularly these missing families. As I always say, my upper middle class Anglo family doesn't need me. They're doing just fine. They tell their kids to study. They turn the TV off until the homework is done. They don't let them play video games until if the grades are not good. There are consequences, and these families have educated mom and dad, high literacy, rich literacy at home. They have been well educated and they're just transmitting this knowledge to their children. But we have missing families, low SES, poor families, migrant families, people that didn't have an education before, so they don't have a lot of cultural academic capital knowledge to transfer to their students. Of course, they have tons of things that they are transferring and things that are valid. This is related to funds of knowledge, which we discuss in the chapter as well. I'm in favor of home visits, well done, because it allows us to gather a lot of information, personal information about our students and how to best reach them. It also allows us to see how the families interact and what kind of literacy they have at home and culture about education are these kids exposed to, so that we can interact and educate the families. Teachers, we perform many roles. We are educators of parents, and the schools and the communities can do this a lot too. Provide literacy classes for adults after hours, computer literacy for our immigrant population and poor population that don't have access to cell phones and smartphones and all the stuff we have now. These are things that as schools we need to do, as teachers we need to do. It's not just come here, come to my classroom, watch over these students, make some photocopies for me, That's the energy in kind of thing. What are you doing for them? How are you educating these parents into being more effective in helping their students? Now, the dangerous thing about this, and this is why funds of knowledge, the research from Louise Moll is important, is because we don't want to go into these houses as the know-it-all. I'm going to tell you how to raise your kids. My culture is the right one. Just do as I say and you'll be okay. We can't do instruction like that either. We have already discussed in progressive education, we need to embed the experiences, knowledge, and histories of our students in the curriculum and in our instruction. Same way, the families that make the school, they make the school. The families we serve are the school. So the school should reflect those cultures, beliefs, histories, narratives, etc. So it's not us going out telling these families, this is how you know, in the reaching out model, how can I help these families be more effective in the educational progress of their children, of my children, my students. And not just, it's not a matter of me telling them what to do. Very important, gather information, survey them, compile data. What do you need to know about? What do you want to know about that I know that I can share with you? Make it a more respectful relationship. Acknowledge their culture, language, and heritage. Use that as a springboard to bring them to the school for helping. Make the school more welcoming. Our American schools, man, they have a lot to learn. Everything is in English. You have police cars in the front. You have signs, you know, attention, visitors. It's not a welcoming place. It's very different from the kind of community school I'm involved with, you know, very community, very groovy, very organic, very welcoming. We don't have big red signs with warning letters and, you know, over break. It's not welcoming. I've visited hundreds of American schools observing teachers and such, and I'm intimidated in a number of them. I know, protecting the children and the paranoia of all kinds of things, but you know, I've been in schools that don't have that, and nothing ever happened either. So I'm not going to argue that just because you know, you have metal detectors and signs and police cars and stuff, that's what makes it safe. Because I've been in other places that don't do that and it's as safe. Maybe the communities they're embedded in. That's a larger picture that the city needs to deal with. Protecting the school from the neighboring communities. That's a different issue. How are you hosting these students? And is the building located in a place that is inviting to learning, or just being freaked out all day? Jailed up, you can't even leave campus. Big argument. It doesn't matter. Our job as teachers, we need to at least think critically about all these and figure out how we can reach out to these families and best help them. Removing our biases and preconceptions about the lack that these families have with them. They're not lacking anything. They have what they need. They have survived. They have survived a tough life. And so they have a lot of skills. We just need to tap into those and embed them in our instruction in the school, so that the school welcomes them, acknowledging culture. You know, a lot of these families get pushed up. Even middle-class Anglo families experience some of this, because we know PT associations are pretty elitist, you know. When you have those helicopter moms and dads controlling those PT organizations, and they're very reactant to leave anybody in, you know, from the outside, particularly if you're a different color or language or national origin. That makes it even more difficult if you don't partake of their cultural system. So just be aware of all these things and understand that as teachers, our job is morphing, man. We ain't just teaching content anymore. We're educators, we're advocates, we're teachers of parents, trainers, coaches, translators, interpreters, all kinds of things. So this chapter on attending to the parents, the families, and the communities, it's an important one, and I think it's an added definition to our job as teachers that I hope you really consider and incorporate in your practice seriously, particularly for your ELL students, your non-mainstream students. See you in the discussions. Adios.